So you want to shoot car photography, but you don't want to mess it up. I got you. So today we're going to go over some of the tools and concepts that you need to shoot car photography and one big mistake that all beginner car photographers make. And if you want to see exactly how I took this photo, how I lit it, and how I edited it, there will be a second video for you guys to watch after this, linked in the description box below.
Camera settings are going to vary depending on your lighting and the effect you're trying to achieve. For wider shots of cars like the one we're shooting today, you want a higher aperture like f5.6 and up to ensure that most, if not all, of the car is in focus. For detail shots, this can be more shallow to allow for a shallower depth of field. For ISO, you want to keep it as low as possible to minimize the amount of grain in your photos. For these outdoor shots, we're keeping our ISO at 100. At a minimum, for handheld car photos, your shutter speed should be 1/60. I would personally recommend 1/160th or 200 as a minimum shutter speed. For this shoot, we're using a strobe light and a tripod, so shutter speed isn't the most important factor in this case. We kept it pretty slow at 1/50th of a second. That way we can keep our ISO nice and low at 100.
All right, technically there is no right or wrong lens to use, but there are more commonly used lenses for car photography. So most people are reaching for a 24mm, for example, but depending on where you are and what location that you're in, using a tighter lens will lend itself to 100% details of the car. But also if you're, like when Chris and I were in the Dolomites, for example, there were really big mountains in the background and we wanted to make those appear really close to the car. So you're trying to make that whole picture, you're trying to flatten the image, bring the background closer to your subject. That's a case where like a 24-70, an 85, or a 70-200 would definitely lend itself to helping out with that. But a lot of car photographers reach for wider lenses. Now, why is that? It really lengthens the car, it distorts the image a little bit, creating like a very sporty look, especially if you're shooting really low. So in that case, you could reach for a 16 even sometimes, but that's why most car photographers are reaching for a 24mm. Could also reach for a 35 too. So if you want something run and gun, if you're just out for the day, 16-35 would be great. Today we were using the 24 prime, but we also did pack, just in case, because we weren't sure where we were going to be, we also have an 85 and we do have the 70-200. And I believe this is also, no, we have the 35. We did not bring the 24-70 today, but we have the 85, so that's fine. But I would say for run and gun, you could reach for 16-35 or bring out a 24 prime and then have one long lens with you. If you're confused about what angle to shoot the car at, because it is tough, this is a very large subject to shoot. Why are those birds so loud? You're interrupting me. A good rule of thumb is to have your camera line up with the mirror height of the car. I do have mine a tiny bit lower because I just like a slightly lower angle on a car. If you're trying to maybe get a reflection in a puddle and shooting a car at the same time, then of course you're gonna wanna be even lower than that, but just be cautious that you're not missing any of the details of the top of the car, like the top of the hood and some of those really nice curvatures of it, because if you go too low, you might be missing out on that. And if you go too high, well, it could be a look in itself. If you're using a wider lens, Chris actually has a really nice example of this, which I can put up on screen. So he took a shot of the front of a car, again in Dolomites, and it was a wider lens. He was really up nice, close and personal to it. So the front of the car looked massive. The back did look smaller, but it really made it look like a powerful vehicle. And then we had all the background of the location that you're in behind the car. So a wider lens can still help you show all of the details of the location that you're in and be able to capture that. But that's only if you're completely surrounded by that beautiful background. If it's something far away, you might want to use a tighter lens to bring it up close to the car. But that's a great example of how using a wider lens to your advantage can, yes, distort your image, but create a really cool, unique effect. And using both the angle, so whether you're up high or down low, plus whatever lens you're choosing, is really what creates that unique car photography.
Now let's talk accessories. A few accessories that you'll need to shoot cars are a lens hood, a tripod that has a low mode, now this is key when shooting cars at night, a camera strap, maybe some strobes or a light wand, a detailing kit like a chamois or Windex spray, and finally, wait, hold on.
Now let's talk about the mistake, the common oversight that all beginner car photographers make. You may not have a circular polarizing filter. And it's honestly just forgetting your filters in general. A lot of people wonder whether or not filters are actually important because, yeah, good ones are expensive, but in car photography, a circular polarizing filter is extremely important, and I will tell you why. If you're not familiar with how lens filters work, then go watch my video up here where I explain literally everything about filters, because we're just gonna be giving you a really brief overview today. So the sponsor of today's video is conveniently Freewell, and they sent us a whole bunch of filters that I'm gonna walk you guys through. And the really cool part about these is that they're magnets. So gone are the days of screwing on and off your lens filters and dropping them and then getting them stuck and having to use like those clamp things. And it's just really annoying. And this is super intuitive. Do you see how easy that was? Yeah. Yeah. Oh, ready? Oh no, I can't see, I'm in the dark. Oh, it's still on. Let me just paint a picture for you. Oh, wait, hold on, let me just put this. Did you see that? See how quick that was? 2 seconds rather than you going and then dropping it in the dirt and then having to use a lens cleaning cloth and then you forgot a lens cleaning cloth and you didn't bring lens solution. They also thought about that. Look how cool this is. Never will you lose a lens cleaning cloth ever again. All right, now let's explain how these exactly work. So this right here is kind of your base ring, your base plate. This isn't the one that actually comes with the full kit. This is the step-up version because we have a 67mm thread. So you do screw this part on, but you could do that at the beginning of the day. It's not a big deal, okay? Hold your breath, just chill. Then you put on this kind of base VND. It does also come with a VND mist. It doesn't really act like a VND though, so don't think that it is an ND filter. It's really more of a UV filter. So we're not using the mist today for obvious reasons, and you just click that guy right in there. Now that you have your whole base setup ready to go, this is when the fun part begins. So these are actually reversible. So one side is your 2 to 5 stop ND and the other side is a CPL. So you're getting 2 in 1, which is also just nuts. The text on either side is going to indicate to you which filter you're using. So if you're looking at the CPL text, it's a CPL. If you're looking at the 2 to 5, it's a variable ND. Now you're gonna line up the A with the A on the actual base ring. So it's right down here. Now it's lined up. The reason we have to line up the A's is because when we're using this as a variable ND, that's gonna activate the hard stops for you. Whereas of course with the CPL, it's not something you need. Well, you can see that there's actually all these little hard stop indicators on the base plate, and that's what's gonna click into each of those to give you a visual and physical representation of what that feels like. So this case, I actually think it's really cool. So you open it up and you can pull this and it kind of slides all of the different filters out. So this one that also comes with the kit is on one side, a 6 to 9 variable ND, and on the other side, it's a CPL, but it's a CPL with ND32. So if it's real bright, you're still covered. Very rarely do I need ND32, but you know what? Sometimes you do. And if you're wondering where you attach a lens cap, it does come with one. It is also a magnet. It is glass. That is a little confusing, but nonetheless, it does still have a cap. Last but not least, I did get a couple of extra filters, some of my personal favorites over here. I have a 1/4 mist, I have a, what did I get, 1/8 mist? And I also got a gold streak, so I'll show you guys a couple photos that we're gonna take with us later. And it also has this case, if you prefer a little zipper case and you don't want the fancy pull tab and all of that. So if you guys wanna check out Freewell and all of the awesome filters that magnetize, is that a word? Then go click in the description box below and see everything they have to offer. Thanks Freewell for sponsoring the video. So now a little bit more about the mistake you're making in not using a circular polarizing filter. Well, obviously the lighting is going to play a massive role in how professional your photo looks. And one thing you're gonna have to keep in mind with this giant, shiny vehicle is reflections. And that's exactly what your CPL eliminates. So by rotating it, you're eliminating some of the reflections on the hood, on the edges of the car, and it just makes a much more beautiful photo because you actually want to be able to see the car, not just a blown out part of the vehicle. So if you're shooting with natural light or whether you're shooting with a strobe, this is definitely something you want to take into consideration. Now, I mentioned 2 different ways that you can shoot these cars. Obviously, more run and gun, and sometimes it's a beautiful day, sometimes you don't have a strobe with you, then obviously shooting natural light can still look amazing, and you can dodge and burn your way through that in editing later on. But if you have a strobe, this really creates such a professional look for your car photography because you can really manipulate how the shadows look, how the curves look on the car, how the highlights pick up on the vehicle, and it really just looks amazing. It really makes the car pop against the background. So if you have the ability to use a strobe, then I would definitely recommend that. And if you guys want to see how we use a strobe in our car photography, then you can click that video I mentioned earlier in the description. So let's talk about different lighting conditions. On a very sunny day with lots of harsh light, you can still make that work. You can still get some really, really cool photos. Overall, it's gonna be challenging, in my personal opinion, to get a wide of the car. But if you find like a parking lot with lots of cool angles, lots of cool shadows happening, then you can absolutely still get a cool photo, and no matter what lighting is occurring naturally at that moment. However, if you're shooting with a strobe, which was obviously a big struggle we had today, shooting on a bright day is gonna be a little more challenging unless you have a really powerful one. So in that case, shooting on a beautiful overcast day that now conveniently it's overcast is really easy and simple for you to shoot because the car looks nice and smooth. There aren't any, harsh shadows or blown out portions of the car. Your CPL isn't going to be like pushed to its limit here. So shooting on an overcast day for beginners, I would say, is going to make your life a lot easier, and I would recommend that when you're starting out. Shooting at night is when you're going to definitely need a strobe or a long exposure, but definitely you're going to need some lighting. Light wands are cool too. Well, that's all, folks. Thank you guys so much for watching today's video. If you liked it, please like it down below. Leave a comment in the description to let me know what other tips and photography styles you would like to see, and hit that notification bell to get notified for all future videos, guys. Please check out Freewell in the description if you're into these magnet filters, which I think is pretty cool. And I'll see you in the next one. Follow me. Were you filming that?